You're listening to The Tales We Tell, a podcast about spooky stories, unsolved mysteries, and local lore. I'm your host, Hannah Parch.
And I'm Katy.
Welcome back!
Your birthday present arrived.
I'm really excited because I forgot about this.
Months early.
I know, it's April. Also, my only announcement is happy birthday to my mom, because this episode comes out on her birthday.
Oh, what is her birthday?
April 12th.
My mom's is the 18th.
Aw, April moms. Love that.
You ready?
Yeah.
And then I'll let you read the little note.
Do I get to open it myself?
Yes.
Okay. I was like...
I'm just showing you that's the way it opens.
Love. It's from the Crystal Gem Unicorn.
Yeah. Little ASMR there.
What are these? Hold on. They're wrapped in...
Oh, let me see that one real quick. All right, don't start with that one.
Don't start with that one?
That's the one you start with.
Okay, let's start with this one. They're in order. Should have gotten Tolly in here to help me break into these. I'm not gonna
They
break.
have names.
Oh gosh, they have names.
When I was messaging the seller, the shop owner, again, this is at Etsy, the Crystal Gem Unicorn. We'll put pictures and whatnot, and
oh my gosh.
So that's Felicity, the lucky ghost.
Oh my gosh.
So I couldn't decide what ghost I wanted to get. And I was back and forth between like two other ones.
Uh-huh.
And then I saw that one. I was like, oh my gosh, our podcast anniversary is St. Patrick's
Yes!
Day. The 4-leaf clover ghost,
I
of
love.
course. So yes, Felicity, the lucky ghost.
I love it. There's a bonus little flower in here, by the way.
Is it a flower? I thought it was a pumpkin.
Oh, maybe it is a pumpkin. I guess when it sits like that, it's a pumpkin.
All right.
How did you know which ones they were?
I just knew that one, I could see the clover.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I ordered this one, and she sent us bonus ghosts.
Oh,
I know. Because I opened up the card first, because I wanted to see, because I asked her, I was like, hey, can you name the ghost for us? Because I told her about, obviously the podcast and how it would be perfect for it, and how it would be perfect for our altar. And I was like, we need name for it. So that one is Lumi.
Does
the
Lumi glow in the dark?
Yes. So we should put him over by the light.
Okay. So
He'll get charged a little bit there.
Felicity is the
is our lucky ghost.
Okay. I might have to take Felicity with me more places. Lucky. Not get lucky, but bring myself luck.
She's even cuter in person.
I know. Okay, I am having a trouble. You did a great job with the packaging. There we go. Ooh. Ooh.
And that's Celeste.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Celeste.
So yeah, I couldn't decide if I wanted the iridescent sparkles or if I wanted the glow in the dark. But then I saw the lucky clover, and I was like, yes.
I love these.
I can't wait to post pictures of them.
Thank you.
Felicity and Celeste and Lumi. Here's the cards with their names.
Oh, thank you. I love these so much.
So yeah, the seller, I think, originally posted these really cute glass wall faux taxidermy things, and I was gonna get you one of those, but most of them had already sold out, and the only ones left, there was a couple that were left, but they were moths.
Oh, yeah, I'm very scared of moths, so.
Even a taxidermied one, I figure you didn't want, so.
I give you all
So then I just started browsing around her store, and I was like, oh my gosh, these are the cutest little ghosts.
Celeste is a family name for me, too, so there we go. And I love Felicity. And I mean, I'm not going to name a kid Lumi, but, we love her also. These are so cute. I almost want them, like, in my office, but I don't, because they're so cute here. And you're right, this is a pumpkin the more I look at it. Pumpkin-y. Ooh! Oh, they're so perfect for in here.
Yep.
And I'm going to say the name of the shop again, so she gets a little shout out. The Crystal Gem Unicorn.
Yep.
I love.
And, I mean, shout out to, the shop owner for
being amazing.
Being awesome.
I know.
Like I said, I requested for her to name the ghost for us. And she sent us other ghosts. It's one for each of us. She asked how many of us were in the podcast.
Yeah.
And so it's technically one for each of us. And, yeah.
I love them
I just
so
thought
much.
it was so great. So the names are perfect. We love them. And they fit perfectly on our little altar here.
They really do. Aw. Yay, thank you. Oh my gosh. They're so cute. And like, goodness knows that we need some luck in here. So Felicity, do your job, please. Be lucky. I also might do a little browsing on her shop.
Yeah, she's got lots of different stuff on her shop, and we'll be sure to post pictures of our ghosts and link to her shop on our Facebook and Instagram, which is the Tales We Tell podcast. And if you still want to see the pictures but don't do the social media and you're interested in checking out the Crystal Gem Unicorns awesome work, you can check out our website, thetaleswetellpodcast.com. And if you want to support us and get yourself some sweet swag, you can't get little ghosties like this, but you can get our awesome Sasquatch logo and several other designs at our Redbubble store. Just go redbubble.com, search The Tales We Tell. And if you want to support us but you don't need this stuff, except maybe, I don't know, early access to episodes, commercial-free listening, some bonus content, some stickers and love notes, you can become a patron at patreon.com, search The Tales We Tell.
Yay!
Story time.
Okay. So, I made good on my promise, which was that I would do something lighter, a little bit of lighter fare. And as promised, no children die in this episode. As far as I'm aware, no one dies in this episode.
Well, this is very much light.
I know, right? So this is called the Ariel School Incident. And that's all I'm giving you right now.
All right.
Okay, so the Ariel School is an expensive private school in Ruwa, Zimbabwe.
We both had an episode with Zimbabwe in it.
What was yours?
When I was doing the ghostly prostitutes.
Oh, yeah.
Peggy from Zimbabwe.
Oh, yeah. Peg. How could I forget Peggy? Such a Zimbabwean name.
I know, right?
Always forget. Which is funny because there were some interviews associated with this, and just the whitest kid that you could possibly imagine was one of the kids interviewed. And I was like, first of all, how are you not sunburned all the time? Like, just the blondest child.
Oh, you mean my child?
Yeah, I was like if you took Critter and just immediately made him like 11 right now. That was him. Anyways, so it's an expensive private, I think it's a primary school. I'm assuming it goes to like age 12.
Okay.
So, and I don't know how they do school systems in other countries. It's located in a rural agricultural area. Ruwa is, at the time at least, wasn't even really like a town. It was just like an area, just a section of place. And it was approximately 14 miles southeast from the capital city of Harare.
I think it's Harare.
Harare. I was going to mess that one up.
That's what I said, at least, when I was, because that's where Peggy lives.
Peggy.
Or, sorry, where Peggy haunts. Works. She works the streets.
Yeah. Was she the one? That wasn't the one with,
She was the one that people would pick her up on the street, and she would either disappear from their car, or they would wake up in the cemetery, or like asleep on a grave.
She was like our I'm bad on names. Our Mary one. What was her?
Mm-hmm.
But I was also trying to think of the name of the prostitute who wouldn't actually sleep with men, would just like take them off the streets and kill them and then throw them in the swamps.
That's just probably several people in New Orleans.
Like Brickhead or something.
Bricktop.
Bricktop. I know it's brick something upper body. Oh my gosh. Okay. So small, expensive, private school in the middle of nowhere, Zimbabwe. In 1994, there were approximately 250 students that attended, and as with most expensive private schools, most of those students came from wealthy families. All right, so our story is going to take place September 16th of 1994. So it's hot because it's, I guess that's how the weather works. Zimbabwe is northern hemisphere, right? So I don't know. I didn't actually look it up. All I know is it's small and it's hot there in September. Okay, so around 10 a.m., all of the children in the entire school are outside for their...
It is in southern hemisphere.
Just kidding. Okay, well, whatever. It was still hot in September. So all the children are outside for their mid-morning break, and all of the teachers are inside for a meeting. And there's one volunteer mom whose name is Allison Kirkman, and she has the very unfortunate task of being the only adult outside at recess.
With 200 plus children? Yes. From the ages of, 5 to 12?
Yes.
Lord. I don't like being the only adult with my one-year-old.
I forgot to put, one of my announcements was that one of my sources was an episode of And That's Why We Drink. And I do have to credit him with a lot of this research because I don't know where they got their resources, because I searched everywhere and they were like, oh yeah, all of these interviews with the children. I was like, where did you find all of those interviews with the children? Because I looked for them and I couldn't find them. Anyways, the reason I said that is because one of their sources said it was between 100 and 250 students that were outside, but still the ratio is way off.
Even if it's just 100 children for one adult.
Yes.
That's obscene.
But apparently what they did is they had a system where they would have student like prefects who were like kind of in charge at recess. And I'm just picturing like Percy Weasley who just like delights in getting people in trouble. And their recess, I guess, wasn't super long, so it wasn't like a huge deal. But the teachers were like, we need a break. We have to have a faculty meeting. Everyone go outside. Okay, so Allison Kirkman is doing her thing. She's working like the snack shack. She's doing that. The prefects are, I don't know, supervising. Prefecting. And a handful of children, about 62 to be precise.
A little bit more than a handful.
Well, out of 250.
Fair.
They go over to the edge of the playground, which is fenced off. And beyond that is a field that is overgrown with like brush and trees and thorn bushes and bamboo shoots and tall grass and all this
vegetation,
stuff that you don't want kids to get into. And all of a sudden, Allison Kirkman is overwhelmed by a bunch of younger children running up to her, screaming in fear. And they are screaming about a man in black that was on the playground. And some of them were crying, saying that the Tikoloshe was going to eat them. Do you remember the Tikoloshe?
Yes, the Tikoloshe.
Okay, I looked...
From our goblins episode, right?
I guess. I looked high and low for that damn episode. I couldn't find it.
I think it's the goblins.
I guess so. I don't know. I don't know. I need to organize my notes better, I guess. I knew we covered it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I was like, I recognize the name, you recognize the name.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, to refresh, the Tikoloshes are from Zulu mythology, and they're little dwarf-like goblins.
Mm-hmm.
They're water spirits. They become invisible when they either drink water or swallow stones. Like, much...
Very different things, but okay.
Very different things. And now I'm thinking back to earlier today at my nephew's birthday party where he was trying to swallow stones.
He did not turn invisible despite him being a little people.
Well, he did not swallow them. He was stopped.
Well, Walker was drinking water, and he didn't also turn invisible.
Oh, we'll
So,
see.
also not a Tikoloshe.
Okay. Well, the Tikoloshe are thought to steal your soul at night unless you are sleeping on an elevated surface. And this was...
Because of the fires. Like, if you were sleeping on the ground next to the fire, you would suffocate because of the carbon monoxide. Yep. And we did cover this.
Yes, exactly. I'm going to go back and find it. I thought it was like maybe a New Year's episode. I don't know. Okay, so these children are like... Some of them are like, there's a man in black on the playground and we're terrified of him. Some of them are like, the Tikoloshe is going to eat us. And poor Allison Kirkman is like, I don't know what to do with you guys. There's so many of you. So she's like, I don't know, trying to deal with what she can and probably trying to tell them, like, low-key, the Tikoloshe doesn't exist. You're probably fine. Meanwhile, some of these children, like, slip past her and go inside and interrupt the faculty meeting.
Mm-hmm.
And are now telling the teachers the Tikoloshe are gonna get us. So one child goes in, interrupts the faculty meeting.
It's the Boogeyman episode.
Oh, wow, that was really early.
That was episode 11.
Oh my gosh. How did you look that up so fast?
I just went to Spotify and I went all the way down to the bottom and started scrolling back up based on titles. And I think it was Boogeyman because creepy sack men to goblins to kindly grandmother witches.
All right.
All right, so you got to back up a little bit. So the kids are screaming, Man in Black, the Allison.
Mm-hmm. Mama Allison.
She decides to go in and interrupt the meeting.
No, she is like...
Oh.
I have to keep watching also all these other children. You guys calm down. Tikoloshe doesn't exist. One of the kids goes inside, slips past her. Goes inside.
Sorry.
Goes rogue.
Half listening while I was trying to investigate.
Okay. Yeah, one of the kids goes rogue and goes inside and interrupts the meeting and is like, the Tikoloshe! And they're like, shh, go away. And then a second kid goes inside and is like, the Tikoloshe! And they're like, shh, go away. And then a third child goes in, and finally they're like, shut up, fine. So at least one of the teachers...
5-minute break on the meeting, let's go deal with the situation, because hopefully we're all realizing that one adult person to anywhere from 100 to 250 kids is not really an adequate ratio. Right. So if we don't do something about it and settle whatever is happening outside... They're just going to keep coming in.
Yes. They're probably like,
because one person cannot corral all of these children.
Yes. So at least one teacher is like, I'm going to take these children back outside. Mm-hmm. So they go back outside. And according to this guy who I believe his name is Za, and he was interviewed on the Macrodosing podcast. I have no idea... Do not quote me as, like, recommending the podcast. I've only listened to this one episode. I have no idea what they stand for, whatever. Za was a former student at the school, and he was just, like, giving his recollection of what was happening. But so, according to him, this teacher comes out of the faculty meeting, and the teacher, as they come outside, catches a glimpse of a silver object flying away in the sky. And only then were the children who are freaking out taken seriously. So, the principal, whose name is Colin Mackey, gathers all of the children, the 62 children, who are like, claiming now to have seen something. And he's like, let's isolate you. Let's separate you. And then he does what any adult dealing with children on TV does and says, draw something. Draw what you see. Draw what you saw. So they're drawing, and then all of the children start turning in their drawings, and they're all kind of similar. They're showing disc-like crafts. Some of them are showing humanoid creatures that are a little disturbing. And so Principal Mackey is like, okay, it's the end of the day. Go home for the weekend because it's a Friday. So he's like,
we'll deal with this on Monday.
We'll put these in a drawer. Everyone go home. Goodbye. So the following Monday, the children come back to school, and Principal Mackey receives just a ton of letters from parents who are like, hi, what the happened on Friday? Why is my kids
are freaking
out? Yeah.
Doesn't want to go back to school.
Yeah. Apparently some of the kids were like keeping their kids home, or the parents were keeping their kids home, and like some of the letters were like in lieu of a child. It was like, my kid's not coming in today. They need some time off.
Yeah, no, my dad absolutely would not have kept me home.
No, my mom neither. Was your dad the kind of like you had to be either like throwing up or bleeding?
Bleeding, dying, or throwing up, or you're going to school. And I have actually gone to school with food poisoning. Oh, man. I'd stopped actively vomiting and such at that point that he's like, you can go to school. You're not actively throwing up anymore. I'm like, I feel like death. I was up until 3 a.m. puking my guts up. I only have a couple of hours of sleep. I still feel awful. And he's like, you'll survive.
You're fine.
And it wasn't like I was, I was in high school, maybe. Yeah, I was in high school. And it's like I could have stayed home by myself and had a day off. Yeah. But no, the best I got was during gym. I was like, look, I was up all night with food poisoning. Can I please sit out today? I really don't feel like running around.
Oh, man.
And he was like, I don't care. Do whatever you want.
I really hope that I'm able to raise, because I totally understand like why like my mom or parents in general would not, or like would assume that like if a kid is saying like, oh, I have a headache, or I have my stomach hurts or whatever, that they wouldn't just be like, okay, you can stay home. Because I've seen parents who do that and just let their kids stay home for anything. But I also like, I hope that I can be the kind of parent who like can recognize when my kid needs like a mental health day, or like, has been traumatized by like a possible extraterrestrial, the Tikoloshe situation, and like maybe needs a day or two at home.
Yeah, but then there's also like I don't even know how to say this, but like the longer that they avoid going back to school and like dealing with that trauma, like the worse it would be, kind of a thing. But at the same time, like it seems like it was a minor enough trauma, I guess. And like this feels weird trying to like give levels to trauma. Yeah. But it seems like it was a minor enough event that, forcing them to go back and like face this trauma or face this place of the trauma shouldn't be that bad for them. Yeah.
Maybe talk to the school counselor.
Yeah.
Assuming there is one.
Like, if they were kidnapped and like held for days in like a specific classroom and they were finally released, and then forcing like, all right, well, you're fine now, so it's time to go back to school, and you actually have to go into that classroom again. Like, I give them some time before you force them to confront that.
That's a very specific situation too.
I was trying to like think of high level trauma, but also make it school related. I don't know.
Maybe make him go back to school, but say, like, you can sit out recess if you want to. You don't have to go back on the playground.
You can go sit in the library.
Yeah. Which would have honestly been great for me.
That's what I always did.
Stay inside.
Well, no, I mean, when I was older for, like, lunch breaks, I would go eat real quick, and then I'd go and, like, browse the nonfiction stacks, and then just pick random books and start reading.
That sounds nice.
That's probably why I know a lot of really random stuff, too.
Yeah. You're that weirdo in the nonfiction section. I'd browse the fiction section.
I like both.
You weirdo.
Well, it was because, you know, in the nonfiction, you can just pick up a book and literally open it to somewhere and just start reading.
Yeah.
Whereas if I picked up a novel, you know, I'd have to go and check it out if I got hooked and then, you know, worry about returning it and blah, 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 blah. And I already had nonfiction novels at home I was working on. So, anyway.
Okay. So...
Kids aren't showing up to school. Letters are arriving in lieu of children.
Yes. Imagine a Harry Potter situation with the letters coming through the chimney. Except not at all like that. All right. So I actually don't know how Principal Mackey handled the parents. He tactfully kept that out of the reports of this. But somehow, word about this incident got to the local radio station, and that got the attention of the BBC, and also the attention of a woman named Cynthia Hind, who was the African representative of the Mutual UFO Network, or MUFON.
Let's move on from that.
Okay, yeah, that's good. All right, so the BBC sends a reporter named Tim Leach to the school on September 19th. So I didn't even do that math. So the 16th was a Friday. 17th, 18th. Okay, so that next Monday. So I guess that's probably how the principal handled everything. He's like, oh, there's a reporter here. It's fine. And then Cynthia shows up Tuesday. So the reporter's on Monday. The ufologist is on Tuesday. No learning
Probably
is
good
happening.
that she had showed up after the reporter, not the other way around. Or at the same time.
Yeah. So both of them do interviews, like, of their own. The children are interviewed separately, and their stories come back more or less consistent, which I will touch on later. And so this is what we gather happened based on their stories. Okay, so the 62 children who had, like, run over to the fence, or, like, gone over to hang out by the fence. So they're hanging out and they're looking over the field of the foliage or whatever. And over this area, they see 3 silver balls appear in the sky, disappear with a flash, and then reappear somewhere else in the sky. And that happened 3 times. And then those balls started to kind of come closer towards the school. And then one of the objects, which I guess as it got closer, they were able to make out was less of a ball, more of a disc, kind of settled into a landing or hovering situation. And then at least one, although some accounts said multiple, small being or beings came out of the craft and began just walking towards the field, or walking through the field towards the school. So this is how they were described. About 3 feet tall, with long, scrawny necks. Rude. Wearing tight, shiny black suits. They had pale faces, large eyes that set low on the face. The very pale boy that I described to you. He said that the eyes were like, he pointed to, like, his cheeks. He was like, they were, like, here. And then one girl was describing them, and she was, like, holding up her hand, like, maybe the size of, like, a baseball. Gross. Some of the children described them as having long, straight black hair, which I'm like, just keep the hair out of it. Just make them bald. It's gross. And they appeared to be walking, but when the children looked closer, they were actually floating above the ground. They were just making like a walking motion, I guess, to make us feel like they were fitting in.
Kind of like walking on a moving sidewalk thing.
Yeah, but like, I don't like that they're pretending to walk just to like make us feel better. Or like just... And then they also decided that they were going to talk to some of the kids, but not all of the kids. But they weren't going to talk with their mouths. They were going to talk
with their minds.
With their minds. They have a telepathic, not a conversation because it's just one way, with only some of the kids. And do you want to guess what they told them, what their message to them was?
I couldn't even begin to guess.
Take care of the earth. So they warned them about taking care of the earth. Some of the kids were real lucky, and they got visions of natural disasters that were just like a bunch of visions of like polluted oceans and devastated planets.
I actually read a really interesting what if thing. Like, what if we haven't had any visitors from the future because there is no future?
Oh, yeah. There's a theory, and I've thought about doing an episode on this, and then every time I start to think about it more, I think I just have like an existential crisis and freak out. But it's a theory that says, what is it? Maybe I don't do it because I can't ever like wrap my brain around it. I think it's something of like, it might be that. It might be like if there's extraterrestrial life, it would be from the future, but we've already like, our future is like that we destroy the planet or something. And maybe I'm going to look it up. That's not.
Yeah, I'm not following.
It's something. Or no, it says it's like, okay, it's like there's all of this proof. There's like so much proof that there has to be other life out there. And like all of the proof points to it. And if there is, we surely should have like come into contact with them or like found whatever. And it's like, so why haven't we? And it's like, what if they're deliberately avoiding talking to us or something? Something about like, I don't know. It's like everyone's avoiding us because they know.
There's a funny quip. The surest sign that intelligent life exists out there is the fact that they haven't made contact with us yet. Because they know better than to associate with us.
It's also, I'm like, thank you for this message, but also like, we know you're telling the wrong people. Don't tell the kids. The kids
are their future.
I know, but the kids aren't the ones making
the policies
right now. I wonder
how many of those kids that had the visions of, or got the message to take care of the earth turned out to be like environmental scientists.
Well, probably none of them turned out to be like policymakers because look where we are. Some of the kids were warned to use technology wisely or to like
not become TikTok famous.
Yes. Or to like not go too far with technology. And I can't remember like the way the little girl said it was like a very cute. It was like
don't trust robots.
Well, she said like you can't get too technologied or something cute, but like then when you think about it, you're like, oh no, Elon Musk is like ruining us because the aliens said not to do what he's doing or something. Anyways, basically everything Elon Musk is doing is what the aliens said not to do.
Got it.
One of the girls described the telepathic abilities of the aliens. She said it was like they could alter perception, which I don't like. But she said it was like they were doing it with the intention of making you feel more comfortable. which I also don't like because I'm like, why do we have to feel more comfortable with you? What's wrong?
That you're more open and perceptive to what they're trying to say.
Well, don't have long, weird hair. Very few people can pull that off.
Do you honestly think that if one of the
Stop
aliens...
looking at the door while you're saying...
I'm making sure that it's locked.
So scary that you're doing.
You're the one who conspired with Jarek years ago to try and scare me, so...
And it backfired on me.
It's your fault that I'm paranoid and I often look to the door.
I don't like that you're doing it while we're talking about creepy aliens.
Well, see, I know. You just called him creepy. Like,
I know.
Do you really think that if they had an important message, you're going to be, perceptive and, actually open-minded to accept it? No, they want you to feel at ease. They want you to feel comfortable. So you'd be willing to hear them out.
It didn't work on the small ones, because the small ones recognized them as the Tikoloshe that they were and ran and told the adults. Oh my gosh. I'm just imagining these aliens that have a Keanu Reeves haircut, and it's just nuts. One girl described 2 of the beings coming over to her. So the fence is separating them. So these 2 aliens come over to her, and they start imitating skipping. And I don't know if this means skipping rope or just skipping through a field. But remember, they're floating. Their feet aren't touching the ground. So whatever they're doing is just creepy. And then they just stop and stare at her.
It's like they're on an air treadmill.
Yes! But they're doing that thing that demons sometimes do where they're just we're gonna imitate you. It's the thing that demons do where they can imitate voices. Hate that. I just don't there's too many things about them that are demon-like. And I'm just okay. Many of the kids said that they felt like they couldn't look away from the situation and that they felt like time warped while they were witnessing it. But the whole thing only took 15 minutes.
But it felt longer.
Yeah. Or they couldn't tell how much time had passed. When they were done doing whatever they were doing, skipping, they just got back into their ship and they left. But a lot of the kids didn't remember exactly how they left. Some of them said that they felt like they suddenly just kind of came to and they were gone. Some said that they thought that the ship just disappeared or faded away. And then others said that they were no, they walked back across the field to their ship and got in, and then it flew away the same way it came down. So about half of the interviews were very consistent with each other, and then about half of them were kind of all over the place. I think all of the kids in general were between the ages of 5 and 12. Mm-hmm. But Za, the guy from earlier, he said that they only interviewed the older kids. They didn't even bother interviewing the younger kids.
Right.
I don't know. And then Cynthia from earlier, the UFO lady, she noted that the kids came from a fairly diverse backgrounds. And so she thought that this was a reason that they gave different versions of the same story.
Well, yeah, because they're still really young and, trying to understand the world around them. And so they're only able to, relate back to their own experience so far, which is limited at the age of, 10.
Yeah. And, if a lot is going on, you could only be focused on, one thing. You could just be focused on, the one ship that's happening over here, where, the one alien's getting out and walking over and then coming over and, pretending to skip rope near you. But, this other kid over here is watching the whole thing and is noticing that there's actually 3 ships and, multiple aliens. And he's also getting, a telepathic slideshow about saving the Earth. I don't know. So this is a quote from Cynthia just talking about the diversity of the children that she interviewed. So she called it, quote, a cross-section of Zimbabweans, Black African children from several tribes, colored children, which is what they called children who had a Black parent and a white parent.
Okay.
Asian children, which is what they called children who had grandparents from India. And white children, mostly Zimbabwean born, but whose parents were either from South Africa or Britain.
All right.
So that's fairly mixed, I guess. So Za from earlier, when he gave his account, which like I had already read like the other accounts, and so I get to this podcast and I'm like, oh, okay, like an adult, like giving, because he gave this account in like 2021, I think, and he was like in his 30s. So I was like, okay, cool, like tell me about these like aliens with like their giant eyes and like everything they're doing.
Long black hair.
Their long black hair. Like, tell me about what they told you. He didn't remember any of that. So his recollection was mostly that everything was really bright. When they asked him like what the aliens looked like, he was like, I don't know, it was really bright. Like, my interpretation of it was like they saw a really bright light and it landed and then everything was really bright. He said a bright light came down and landed and little people came out and started walking around. And that was like basically his story. He did say it was about 30 or 50 yards from the fence where they were all watching. But he like doesn't mention or remember the aliens talking to some of the kids. Like, he leaves out a bunch of details. So I'm like,
well, also, this is him remembering.
Yeah.
20 years later.
Yeah. But
like, there's definitely some significant moments of my life from when I was 10 years old that I can only like vaguely remember. But they were still significant moments.
Yeah.
So like they're there, but
yeah, and
details are fuzzy.
He did say that he was not one of the kids that was interviewed because he was too young. But I wonder about like the older kids, like if it was a story that you had to repeat multiple times, like to multiple adults, like isn't there something about like the more times that you remember something, it's like you're not, it's like
you remember it less accurately every time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so it's like the more times you're repeating it to someone and forcing yourself to remember it, you are remembering it less accurately. And so like the more times you're having to call upon that memory, especially if you're having to retell it to an adult who, possibly someone like Cynthia, who like obviously wants a certain kind of answer.
Might be leading questions.
Yeah, like, I don't know. And so like his account almost feels more accurate, where he's like, I don't know, I was like 6 and like this really bright light showed up and little people just came out and started walking around and then it went away.
That's all I got for you.
Then a bunch of the BBC came, talked to us, and
I didn't go to school for a day or two.
Yeah, we just had interviews for a couple days and that was it. So Cynthia also had brought with her some guy whose name I didn't write his name down. His name is Gunter, I think. He's German. Gunter, sorry. And he brought I'm like, Cynthia, you gotta do something to make us all sound more credible if we're gonna believe in this shit. He brought a bunch of homemade equipment to, like, test the area for, like, alien activity.
Nice.
Cynthia, you could have just brought the ancient aliens guy with you. Like, might as well have. Just bring him along. So he brought, like, a homemade geiger counter.
Oh gosh.
I don't know how you make a homemade one, but he had one. Didn't find anything with his machines.
Shocking. And
they also didn't find any, like, physical evidence in the fields. Like, there wasn't, like, imprints from, like, the stuff. I think in one of her articles, she said something about, like, she had, like, walked through, which she describes how extensively overgrown this field is and, like, all this stuff. And she describes walking through it and, like, all of this stuff. And then she's like, and then I got home tonight and She's like, I mean, I have a headache and I'm feeling pretty dizzy, so I don't know. There might be radiation out there. I'm like, Cynthia, you have been walking through, like, extensive
but
African
the Geiger
bush.
counter said none.
Like,
the Geiger counter said there wasn't any. So
dehydrated. Like, go drink a Pedialyte and lay down. Get out of here, Cynthia. Ugh. Okay. Skeptics were quick to assume that it was just a case of mass hysteria among children.
But the thing with mass hysteria is there's something that happens that causes, like, there has to be there's a shared experience there.
Yeah.
Like, something had to have happened. Like, 100%. Like, yes, it could be something that was completely normal that kids just hadn't seen before.
Yeah.
And, you know, maybe the way they were witnessing it, it didn't compute in their mind.
Yeah.
It's kind of like looking at a picture and not knowing what you're seeing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You've seen the picture floating around out there, and I think we've mentioned it before, actually, where you're like, oh, those look like tasty chicken tenders, and then you look at it a little bit longer, and you're like, oh, wait, no, that's a litter of puppies.
Oh, gosh. I don't know. Have I seen that?
I mean, it's been around. Like, I've seen it dozens of times. It makes the rounds. It pops up every now and then.
I have to look that up.
But it's a litter of, like, puppies that have kind of like a golden brown coat, and it's kind of like curly or wavy fur, and they're all just kind of like laying down and around, and you're like, looks like a tasty basket of chicken tenders.
Yeah.
But then you realize what it actually is,
right?
And so it's probably like, even if it is mass hysteria, like, they all have to be witnessing something.
Yeah.
Something happened.
Yeah.
That just didn't compute in their brain as to what it actually was.
Yeah.
You know, it was a whole bunch of puppies, but their brain all saw chicken tenders.
Yeah. Well, and the teachers even said, and the principal even said, like, I believe that something scared them, but I don't want to say... Like, the principal was like, I don't want to say that it was a UFO, which is stupid because UFO means unidentified flying object, but whatever. But the teachers were like, well, we think something scared them, but we just don't know what it is. And we don't want to say, like, you know, what we think it could be. Ah, those do look like good chicken tenders for a second. They look like those.
They look like good fried chicken.
They look like the kind that you would dip in honey. Not the kind you would dip in honey mustard.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
And it's probably because they're all on that grate there. So it looks like it's draining the grease off.
I don't even want to see them as puppies. I just want to imagine them as chicken tenders.
Yeah.
That looks good. Oh, man. I haven't had fried chicken in...
Just Google chicken tender puppies if you're curious as to what image I'm talking about and you haven't seen it. I literally just Googled chicken tender puppies. It's there.
I was honestly thinking of those weird pictures that came out, I feel like somewhere in the middle of COVID, that are like pictures where you can't identify like one thing in there. Like, things are familiar in them, but you can't, when you look at them, like when you actually look at them, you can't actually identify anything in them. And they're very jarring to your brain. I'll find one and text it to you just to scramble your brain later. All right, yeah, so skeptics are like mass hysteria, which other people are like, that doesn't really make sense in this case, right? Skeptics did point out that 2 days earlier in Zimbabwe, or above Zimbabwe, the Zenit 2 rocket had re-entered the atmosphere, which had caused a lot of calls to local radio stations about fireballs in the sky, which I can attest that if you don't know that there's going to be some kind of rocket activity, I saw, I don't know, one of the SpaceX things. I think we saw the, like, I don't know, the fuselage coming back down. Scared the shit out of me and Jarek. Did not know that was happening. And we just saw what was clearly a spacecraft of some kind coming downward. Because I think we posted it on the Instagram because we were like, what the fuck is this? And it's scary. I mean, like, if you don't know what it is, you're like, that's a piece of something. It doesn't look organic. that was something that I think people were pretty quickly corrected and been like, no, that was a rocket. Mm-hmm. There had been other reports of UFOs in Zimbabwe. I don't know if it was the same day or like that weekend. I couldn't figure that out. So in Kariba or Kariba, got a name for me on that one? Okay. No. Also in Zimbabwe. So one resident reported seeing around 7 p.m. She said it was, quote, a round figure with plenty of lights hovering above our home. She said she was sure that it wasn't an airplane because it was round and that it didn't make any sound as it flew. And then another resident said that there was a slow-moving object that produced no sound that was disc-shaped and brightly colored that they saw, I guess, also in the sky. I don't know if those were related to the rocket. It seems like those would be two different, like fireballs, rockets entering the atmosphere, and then just like random reports of a UFO, and then also a bunch of kids that see a UFO.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to be that person that's like, oh, there were UFOs in the area and then a bunch of kids saw one. Coincidence?
I think not.
I don't know. I really want to believe the kids. Because, like, why would they make it up?
Because nobody ever listens to kids.
I know. No one listens to kids. And again, like, why would... I mean, it's not like they got famous from it. It's like, yeah, they got interviewed by the BBC and some weird lady, but...
They weren't even looking for that. Like...
Mm-mm.
They
probably thought they were in trouble.
They witnessed a thing, and it freaked them out, rightfully so, and they shared their experience with adults.
Yeah.
You know, authority figures, which is what
that's what you're supposed to do.
That's what children are trained to do.
Yeah. And, like, if it had been, like, a massive prank or whatever, I don't know, like... I'm trying to think how they would play it out.
Getting 62 kids in on the same prank, absolutely
so
not.
hard.
Especially 5 to 12-year-olds.
Yeah.
Not happening.
Well, and, like, how do you convince the little ones, like...
Go along with this.
Yeah, or, like, just go around and, like, somehow convince them, like, oh, the Tikoloshe are out there, like, go... Get them to go run and be scared, and then somehow collude with all the older ones and be like, okay, we're gonna go in, and then, like, the principal's gonna tell us to draw pictures, and then when we do, we're all gonna draw, like, this and this and this, and...
Even adults, like, are the small group of people that were at Tali's party today.
Yeah.
Trying to get all of those people in on a prank would be almost impossible.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And we're adults.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Trying to get... I mean,
mostly.
I'm trying to think of... When I'm with Jarek's family and we're just trying to get all of the adult children out the door at the same time. It takes 45 minutes to go anywhere.
Well, that's the Parches.
Well, it's true.
I mean, if the extended family is anything like Connor and Bianca.
Oh, gosh. It's just like...
Connor is late to his own kid's birthday party. He wasn't really. He was there. It was... I mean... We showed up at 2:00. Bianca was there. Connor wasn't.
Well,
but he was there for several minutes later.
Connor was late to Bianca's party that he planned.
Mm-hmm. Well, we had to keep Bianca out. And we couldn't. We were like, oh, we need to get Bianca out of the house. So we're going to be like, hey, let's go get birthday drinks downtown with the girls. And that way Connor could get things set up and people could show up.
Yeah.
But then he, like, set the field on fire again. I don't know. Basically, he was out at the property, and so he was late getting back to the house so that Bianca could leave.
He also sets that field on fire too much.
He was like, it was like, all right, everyone come over at 2. But he didn't even get back so that Bianca couldn't even leave until, like, 1:45.
Well, he also doesn't let people know. Like, he could have texted everyone and been like, oh, hey, it's 1:45, Bianca just left. Maybe you don't show up until, like, 2:45.
He didn't plan. Anyway, this is not a podcast about the brother-in-law.
Anyways, I will just say this
Okay.
in favor of the children.
I believe the kids. They saw something.
Yes.
I don't know what they saw, but they saw something.
Yes. None of the children from the Ariel School have ever changed their stories or, like, redacted their stories or refute whatever the word is. They've never changed their stories of what happened. Some of them have refused to talk about it or, like, not
Or
want...
like, I don't remember that much, or like...
Yeah. A lot of them, I read, like, when people were trying to kind of hunt them down to talk about it, have said, like, I don't want to dwell on that, or, like, let's focus on, like, what the Ariel School is doing now. Like, I don't want to bring up the past. Like, I don't want to, you know.
I mean, it's an interesting story, but not, like, a huge incident or whatever. Like, no lives were lost.
Right.
No lives were greatly impacted.
Right.
Like, you know, nobody was injured. Like, nobody got ESP or other special skills or anything. Like, it was just a weird day at school.
Yeah.
Where a handful of kids, a large handful of kids, witnessed something weird.
Yeah.
End of story. Like, it was definitely an interesting story for our point of view. But yeah, like,
Yeah. But, I mean, I do think it's interesting that, like, none of them have ever come back and said, like, no, that didn't actually happen.
Yeah,
or
like, oh, I was just kidding. It was
Yeah.
just a joke.
Yeah.
No, like, I mean, I can just, yeah.
Yeah. So one former student who, they called her Sarah in this article, but that was not her real name. When speaking to this website called Mail and Guardian, this is what she said as, like, our closing. Quote, "You want to know the real message here. The real message is that this stuff can brand you for life. It certainly f***ed me up. I mean, try telling people that you live in permanent fear of these things returning one day. Try telling them that you can actually sense when they're back in our atmosphere. They'll think you're a kook." Which, like...
So she must have been one of the kids that got the
Yeah.
telepathic communication.
And also, I'm like, what do you mean they're back in our... Sarah, can you expand a little bit?
Are they just hovering out there watching over us?
I know. And also, Sarah, can I give you my number and can you just, like, text me when you feel that way? Because, like... but also maybe don't text me because I can't be burdened with that.
Well, that's too much technologizing.
So, I mean, honestly, talk about anxiety. I would have...
The idea of meeting an alien or an extraterrestrial doesn't freak me out that much.
Good, then they can visit you.
My biggest concern would be seeing them and my lack of poker face. And, like, me being freaked out by their appearance and offending them.
By their Keanu Reeves hair.
And just being like... like, staring at them, like, with a, just, like, I have no control over my facial features. I have, like, I smile at the worst times. I have resting bitch face at the worst times. Like, the other day, I don't know, Shelton just looked over, he's like, what are you smiling at? I was like, I didn't know I was smiling. It touched my face, and I was like, you know I can't control this thing. It's also why I struggle to, like, play it cool when, like, I'm playing a prank, or I'm like, you know, I hid something over there that's gonna scare Shelton or whatever, and I'm just like... You know, I have no control over my face. It just does things, and especially if I'm sometimes thinking certain things, it is all over my face. So that's my concern with meeting extraterrestrials, is just
you're gonna
offending them. Yeah,
I'm not worried about offending them. They're offensive to me.
I don't know if we've been visited by aliens. I don't know if there even are, you know, life out there elsewhere. I think it's arrogant to think that we're the only life in this universe, though. So, like, maybe they're there, maybe not, but to just be one of those people who are like, there's no way that aliens exist. Like,
Yeah.
that's just arrogant.
We should just be more concerned about, what we talked about earlier. Why are they avoiding us? Or
why are they here, or why aren't they here?
Yeah. But if they are here, please avoid my house. I have so much anxiety already. I really don't need to know if you're in the atmosphere or not. Oh, we watched Signs again recently, and it's just, I know that movie is like very cheesy to some people, but it still scares me a lot. And yeah.
You should watch Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Maybe I should. I gotta go watch something
That's
happy.
aliens, but fun.
Oh, okay. I'm probably just gonna go read more of my book. Which, listen, this book I'm reading, very good. It's got a plus-size heroine. It has a body-positive subplot. And then it had unexpected smut scene.
Yes.
And
That's
then
my kind of book.
Immediately afterwards, there was a murder.
Nice.
And now I'm hoping that before we wrap up the murder, there's going to be another smut scene. So that's why I'm like 3/4 of the way through, and I'm like, fingers crossed. Anyways,
on that note,
thank you guys for listening. Let us know what you think. If we have been visited, if we have not, why not?
Have you specifically been visited?
Oh my gosh, if we have a listener who has been visited or has an alien story, please tell us what it is. I also have already thought of a fun little surprise that I'm going to do for you for our next episode.
Oh, yay.
And go back to the beginning to hear our socials.
Because I'm not doing them again.
Yeah. And then you can see pictures of Felicity, Celeste, and Lumi.
They're so cute.
And I'll post pictures. I was literally finishing the episode when Katy got here, so I didn't have a dog CA for her or any pictures, but I'll have pictures for you guys.
Nice.
Because I don't have to work tomorrow, and I can do that then.
All right.
But we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.